Namaskar, everybody. Today, there is another talk by Professor Emeritus Shiv Chaturvedi ji. And today's talk is especially very important because he's going to be talking about the doctrinal similarity or differences between the dharmic tradition and dharma and the corresponding Abrahamic tradition, in particular Islam and Christianity. This is something actually which has caused a lot of confusion among Hindus, and therefore this will be a very educational talk, given the fact that the depthly the Professor Chaturvedi he handles these issues. I'm sure that everybody will enjoy it. So please, Professor Shiv Chaturvedi, please start.
Yes. Can we share the screen, please?
Yeah, I think you can, but
yes, you can share.
Okay. Oh, can you see the screen?
Yeah.
Om Shri Gurubhyo Namo Namah. Om Angirasaya Namo Namah. Om Kapilaya Namo Namah. Om Gargaya Namo Namah. Om Vedavyasaya Namo Namah. Om Dharmaya Namo Namah. Om Shri Gitaya Namo Namah. ओम श्री राधा कृष्णाभ्याम नमो नमः। समस्त मातृशक्ति को नमन करता हुआ उपस्थित श्रोताओं को नमन करता हूँ, समस्त चराचर जगत को नमन करता हूँ, देव और दानवों को नमन करता हूँ। और इसके साथ ही आज आपको perhaps you already know about it कि आज 125th एनिवर्सरी ऑफ नेताजी सुभाष चंद्र बोस, उनको सत नमन करता हुआ, and we will start this journey together. And this journey will pass through all kinds of intellectual landscapes, ups and downs, and I have crystallized for you the primary foundational ideas with authentic references and understanding of the Islamic tradition today. So this journey, let's get on it. I am going to be brief but authentic, because the detailed understanding require probably a longer course than what we need to cover today. We may not be able to finish till the end, but whatever we can do will continue next time. With this note, let's look at how the general theme that we are working on is Vedic Sanatana Dharma versus Abrahamic religions. How the Vedic Sanatana Dharma has been degenerated at two different levels. The first level, degeneration, when Sanatana Dharma was introduced and discussed about it as a religion for last several hundreds of years, even after the so-called India's political independence. The second level of degeneration came out to be with this notion all religions are same, all religions are one, all religions lead to the same destiny, ultimate goal, and ultimate reality. There's the most basic questions that we have been working on is why and how did this happen? What are the primary consequences? So let's recapture the concluding thoughts from previous talk, part 1, where we focused on the Jewish Christian tradition. And the creation of so-called religions, the inapplicability of Western notion of religion to the tradition of Asia has not only led to piecemeal errors of labeling, identification, and classification, to conceptual confusion, and to some name calling. It is also responsible for something more extraordinary, the creation of so-called religions. This is by Professor Fredgestall. His statement comes from this particular book and the article. And he had been, if you have not heard of him, he was the very prominent intellectuals and researchers and loved the Hindu wisdom, who really arranged a big Agnihotri Yagna in 1960s or 70s, I don't remember exactly date, in Kerala, and published a big book with the audio recording called the Agni. Very, very beautiful, very unique, very wonderful. You can go back and look at this. It's already in publication for a long time. And you can really enjoy and understand. He was the only one non-Brahman allowed within the arena of Yagnasala. So very, very interesting. Very, very unique. Let's look at where the Hindu and Hinduism come from in written words, in our popular psyche, academic world, intellectual world. It appears the Nathaniel Brassey Hall had in 1776 wrote a code of Gentoo laws, religion of Hindus, which was gradually supplanted in the 19th century. Hinduism with double O, Oxford Dictionary 1829, it reference to Bengali, a magazine, volume 45, also by Max Muller, 1858. Then Dermot Killingly referred to Ram Mohan Roy in 1816, and he was probably the first Hindu to use the word Hinduism. Ram Mohan Roy. One hardly need mention, to the extent which Roy's conception of Hindu religion was conditioned by European, Muslim, and Unitarian theological references. Very important. He's considered as the father of modern India. That's what the Western scholar considered him to be. And his conception of Hindu religion was categorized, classified, understood, propagated through the lens of European, Muslim, and Christian tradition. And this is written by Richard King authentically. So this is a very, very important. And since then, we have been looking at the entire Hindu wisdom tradition, starting from Vedas all to the Smritis, and every aspect, all the sciences, all the ideas within the enormous, beyond even comprehension, the body of Hindu wisdom traditions through the lens of what came out to be recognized as colonial mindset, colonial glasses. I would add to that not only colonial framework, but from Abrahamic religious traditions framework as well. In an Asian context, Western influenced Neo Vedanta of Indians, which is still continuing, Neo Vedanta, and which started with Raman Roy, Mahatma Gandhi, Vivekananda, Aurobindo, Radhakrishnan, and Hinduism term and all the associated ideas became the representative of Hindu world wisdom. It is a colonially filtered and retrospective Banditization of Indian religion. All the Neo Vedantas have left out all the Vedas. They have left out all the Jnana Vijnana, all the sciences, ancient sciences, all other aspects of the Hindu wisdom tradition, all Shastra, whether it's a Nat Shastra or it's a Sangeet Shastra or say the Yajurveda, or it is Atharvaveda, or it is Ayurveda, medical practices. Everything else was left out, ignored, even ridiculed by some of these writers and thinkers. As you can see from here, one aspect of the Godhead was overemphasized on the other aspects of Godhead. The salvation of you depends on a rationalistic religion and Advait non-duality, the oneness idea of impersonal God, is the only religion that can have any hold on any intellectual people. This is a very strong statement by Swami Vivekananda ji. Have any hold of any, the only religion. Oh, my dear friends, this is a very, very big statement, but unfortunately, this is an incomplete and flawed statement. You cannot reconcile with this statement rest of the ideas, and we will, as we go along, we will talk about it. That's what happened. Another very, very distinguished professor, Helfas, India and Europe. You must read this book, An Essay in Understanding. And he says, well, we cannot reduce meanings of Dharma to one general principle, nor is there a single translation that could cover all its usages. Richard King, concept of modern Western epistemological theories about, without highlighting that their cultural, social particularity to remain a long, well-established tradition of Western arrogance about superiority of Western ways of understanding the world. And these categories have been grafted and imposed on the entire Vedic wisdom tradition, or classification, or interpretation, or narratives, and most of the ideas. And we have ignored, in fact, if I'm allowed to say, with due respect to all these stalwarts of Neo-Vedantic tradition, that they became the guiding light or beacon for the entire Hindu wisdom tradition, though incorrectly, because they have been using the colonial categories in English language. During that time, there are a lot of nationalistic scholars and saints and sages from within India, from every part of the India, north, south, east, and west. Their writing and ideas were ignored to a large extent. Look at what our Neo-Vedantists excluded from Vedic wisdom tradition, and what is now it is talked about by one quotation. I have several such individuals. I knew personally, actually, also Antonio D. Nicholas, the great philosopher of Vedic wisdom, New York University, and his colleague was the Patrick Heelan, who also died recently, I think a couple of years ago, authority in quantum logic. He said, if you believe in Alfred North Whitehead, who is Alfred North Whitehead? Last great disciple of Platonic philosophy. Bertrand Russell and Whitehead worked together on Principia Mathematica to develop and build the axiomatic foundation of the wisdom based on the mathematical understanding. But that efforts collapsed, did not succeed. It should not have succeeded if you look at the Vedic wisdom tradition. And the Whitehead said entire Western philosophical tradition is nothing more than a footnote to Plato, the ancient great Plato. And Patrick Heelan says, if you believe in that, then that statement has to be supplemented with what? Not only Plato, but entire West themselves are extended footnotes to Rig Veda. That Rig Veda or the Vedas we have ignored, we have been ignoring, and by large, even after 1947, because the new Vedantic thought, only one strand of that thought became overwhelming foundation for entire Hindu wisdom. My dear friends, last time we talked about the Christianity. I will just make quotations, read these quotations, then you know exactly what it amounts to. I'm not going to dwell upon the current state of the Christianity in the Western world, which, by the way, anyway, and the under decay, degradation, and demise. Millions of, this is by Thomas Jefferson, one of the most prominent founding fathers and thinker, writer of American Revolution and Constitution. Millions of innocent men, women, children, since the introduction of Christianity, have been burned, tortured, fined, imprisoned, and molested. Yet we have not advanced 1 inch towards humanity. What has been the effect of this coalition? To make one half of the world fools and other half hypocrites, to support error and roguery all over the earth. And this is the same Christianity which is doing aggressively conversion to Hindus for long time, is still active. And our leadership of all kinds do not want to accept the real understanding of the Christianity and their aims and designs. If you look at the Bible itself, Bart Ehrman has been very distinct professor of religious studies. He was also ordained in one of the Christian churches. He got out of it. Very, very distinguished, very, very challenging. And it is from his statement, the authors of New Testament have diverging views about who Jesus was and how salvation works. New Testament contains books that were forged in the name of apostles by Christian writers who lived decades later. Jesus, Paul, Matthew, John all represented different religions. Established Christian doctrine such as the suffering of Messiah, the divinity of Jesus, and Trinity were inventions of still later theologians. Historical Jesus is a big question mark whether there was such a person or personality. historical Jesus. I'm not concerned about it. Whether there was or there is not, I'm concerned about it. And we must be concerned about the foundational ideas on which the entire structure of the Western world was erected. And then the conversion of the rest of humanity continued based on those ideas. Now look at the Jesus itself, how Jesus emerged out of the Christianity. Jesus has been rejected by everyone, betrayed by one of his own, denied 3 times by his closest followers, abandoned by all his disciples, rejected by Jewish leaders, condemned by Roman authorities, mocked by the priest, passerby, even by the 2 others being crucified with him. At the end, he even feels forsaken by God himself. Jesus is absolutely in the depth of despair and heart-wrenching anguish, and that is how he dies. Lots of people were being crucified throughout the Roman Empire, but Jesus' death involved its theological interpretation. That Jesus died for the sins of the world. Christianity is a distinct anti-Jewish religion. Jesus was apocalyptic Jewish prophet. My comment, Jesus could not save himself from brutal, horrifying death. How could he save the world? So far, Jesus should have appeared many times, at least several times predictions were made to save the world. Did he come? Did he save the world? And non-Christians will never be saved. We will be always assigned the place in the hell by both the tradition, by Christian tradition and Islamic tradition. So get ready to place ourselves in hell till eternity. And there is no eternity understood in those traditions either. So Abrahamic religion, existence of the visible world through creation, and the different gods, one for each, and are fundamentally separate from the created world. Last time I have discussed at length. Vedic Sanatan Dharma start with emanation. One Bhagwan as a Akshar Brahman or Purushottam to become many, all visible, unmanifest universe and multiverses. It is neither the creation nor the fundamental separation in the sense of religions. So the fundamental understanding of the idea of the ultimate reality, fundamental, not only antithetical. In Hindu wisdom worldview, look at the Bhagavad Gita, look at the Rig Vedas, look at what you see there. The emanation of the one took place, and then one re-entered into his created universe. This is a wonderful, wonderful idea. And that's the reason jo and mein hai wo brahmand mein, that is the equation directly comes from that source. Whatever is within each of us, also situated in the whole cosmos. And whatever in the cosmos in terms of the forces, in terms of the subtle forces, at the most vyakt or abhyakt, manifest unmanifest root, will also exist within the human body. Atma, Paramatma, Sharira, Purush, Prakriti, Purushottam. Oh my goodness, so wonderful. So let's talk about now Islam. And I'm going to focus briefly Allah, Muhammad, Ruh, pillars, jihad, and political power. And this is one of the prominent theological personality in Islamic tradition. And he says, put blind faith first and then study the Quran. Similarly, faith is supreme in the Jewish Christian tradition. age of faith, age of reason, age of reason separated from the age of faith, and that brought out Renaissance, that brought out enlightenment, and that brought out the modern world of the mechanistic science and technology, whether and the ideas which were already there, even technology was already there in Vedic wisdom tradition, was ignored, ridiculed, not only by others, even by our own Hindus for last several hundreds of years. Believe Muhammad blindly and he blesses you 7 times. That's the blind faith. Not only faith, blind faith. It is not the Shraddha, my dear friends. My dear listener, Shraddha has a different meaning, different understanding, and layers of meaning as we understand. So Islamic trilogy, the foundation and totality of Islam. Quran, Shira, and Hadith. Hadith, they call Hadith. Quran from the Arabic for recitation. God's words are revealed to only Prophet Muhammad. There are 114 surahs or chapters divided into ayat, verses, revealed piecemeal to Muhammad during 2 periods of his call. Meccan period, 610 to 620 AD, 22 AD, and Medina period, 622, 632 AD, compiled around 651 AD. Sirah is the biographies of Muhammad. The 2 biographies are very, 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 very ancient. Asak and by Al-Tabari, about 100 pages long, filled with Arabic words. Hadith are traditions of Bukhari and Muslim, 2 theologians. And these hadith talking about what actually Muhammad did, what he did not do, what was his lifestyle, what was his social relationship, personal relationship, personality. These are the hadith. And there are about nearly 7,000 and are very repetitive. So Islam means, from Arabic, means submission to the will of Allah, the true God. This is very important. Allah is considered the true God. So when we say Ishwar Allah Tero Naam, I don't know what you're talking about. This is a fundamental corrupted understanding of Ishwar Allah Tero Naam. Allah means true God. Ishwar is a false God, as we will tell you later on. True God. Even the Allah does not recognize the God of Christianity or God of Jewish tradition. They are not the true gods. People of book are Muslim, Jews, and Christian. That's why it is called the Abrahamic. Abraham is the great-grandfather of all these traditions. Quran is closer to the Old Testament, Hebrew Bible, than with the New Testament. Quran also abounds in references to Abraham, Isaac, Moses, Jacob, Job, Lot, and many others, Jesus, Mary, John, and others. They are also referred in the Quran, but not of the same status. Muhammad Arabic means praised, born around 570 into a very prosperous Quraysh tribe, Banu Hashim. He was orphaned, adopted by his grandfather and uncle, Abu Talib, chief of Hashim clan. Aged 25 years, he was married to Khadija, an older wealthy widow of high status in Meccan society. And they had 4 daughters and 2 sons. They died in infancy. Angel Gabriel's voice called after him about 40 years old. "Oh Muhammad, you are the messenger of God, and I am the angel Gabriel." Now, Muhammad was not educated person in any sense of the word. And he was given the Quran. His wife and uncle died. 622 Quraysh forced Muhammad and a small band of followers to leave Mecca. He lived in Medina for 10 years. He married 12 more women in 10 years. Raiding and warfare were the primary economic activities. He returned to Mecca in 629 as a pilgrim and set out to conquer Mecca and demanding the pagan idols around Kaaba must be destroyed. His sudden death on June 8, 632 AD. Please note, I will not discuss Muhammad's personal life, as lots about is available on the authentic YouTube programs. I am only going to talk about the basic principles and the foundational structure of the Islam. Look at this. What happened? What is the source? In 630, the Prophet Muhammad returned from Medina to town Mecca, where 360 idols stood in a wide circle around the Kaaba. There is a square stone shrine in the center of the city, which is the Mecca. You will see the Kaaba. You will find out this is still exists, and people make the pilgrimage to this. The Prophet rode around the Kaaba repeating the word, truth has come and falsehood vanished, and surely falsehood is certain to vanish. Quran 1783. And Muhammad pointed at the idols of his rod. Each one fell forward to face to the ground. This was the biography of the Prophet by al-Baqidi, 822 AD. This is the oldest. Idols means false gods. They must be destroyed. And please note, this is the very source of plundering, looting, destroying Hindu temples. It's a very source. What Muhammad did has to be done. It has to be repeated worldwide, no matter what, because all are false gods. And we the fools, most of us, not everyone, we the fools still use for our Ishvara or Parameshwara or Murti or Vigraha, use the word idol. Please do not use anymore. When you use the word idols in the temple, they are Murti, they are Vigraha, they are deities sitting in there. They have their own personality, they have their own rights. Look at the constitutional interpretation of India, where the Murti has rights in the temple as human beings have rights. It's a living deity, unmanifested yet. So do not use the word idol for the Murti or Vigraha or deity. Please. Allah, Arabic word God literally means Il-Elah. All compassionate and all merciful, forgiving, generous, loving, powerful, eternal, knowing, wrathful, and just all over Quran. Sovereign Lord, Holy One, Peace, Keeper of Faith, Guardian, Majestic, Compeller, and Super. Allah has 99 names in the Quran. Beyond gender, neither male or female, Quran mentions, say he is God, one God, everlasting refuse. Please note, good attributes are only for the believers of Allah, not for other gods, goddesses, or God. He is the only true God. So whenever you hear these names, my God is more powerful, more loving, but this is my Allah is actually even in contemporary India, I was told and that you will not hear the word Khuda, but it has been replaced by Allah. We have to go to Arabic word. Khuda is basically, I think, is a Urdu word used for Allah, but now they are going back to the original word Allah, true God. So all the epithets, all the good properties that hear of Allah, and there are some wrathful properties as well, then they all belong to people following the Islam, not others. Ruh, the Arabic word means breath, spirit, or soul, a creative word of Allah. Look at how human beings are created. See, I am creating a mortal of clay of mud, molded. When I have shaped him and breathed my spirit in him, fall you down bowing before him. He originated the creation of man out of clay. Then he fashioned his progeny of the extraction of mean water. Then he shaped him and breathed his spirit in him. This is the Quran 3:32 to 5 to 9. You can refer those. And this is how the human beings are created. Compare this creation of human being in 7 days of creation of this universe. 1 day, 2 day, 3 day, and then resting day. My dear friend, you will figure it out. Compare it with the Hindu worldview. Compare with the Sankhya yogic darshan. Purush and Prakriti and Purushottam. I do not have time to delve into it. Eventually, I will come to it later on. So the soul and spirit. Look at the spirit and soul has been used and is still being used by so-called Hindu thinkers and writers. Majority of them. Look at the internet. Look at the talks in English. They do not use Atman on Purusha. And I have given you this authentic understanding. In Hebrew, it's called Roh. Latin anima spiritus, in Greek psyche, pneuma, in German nous and geist. In Old Testament, psychological nepis appears more than 754 times. In New Testament, soul spirit from Greek psyche. In Quran, it's called ruh, wind or breath. Typical contemporary idea: good souls, beautiful souls, deep souls, large souls, wicked souls, wounded souls, foolish souls, food for souls, physical therapy for souls, etc. These are the kind of words used for souls. There is some overlap between Quran and Bible in theological issues, rather ruh or ruh, but in a sense, ruh and soul and spirit all are nothing more than breath. That's it. Breath of life, or it is a psychic faculty. It has nothing to do with Atman or Purusha, eternal entity, foundation of this universe and foundation of every living entity. Nothing to do with it. And we still keep using. If you want to have more authentic here, I have given you at death, the soul ceases to think or feel, it returns to dust from which it was made. So the soul was made out of dust, it returned to dust. हमारे यहाँ वो अक्षर है, नित्य है, इटर्नल है, न उसको मार सकते हैं, न काट सकते हैं, न जला सकते हैं, न गीला कर सकते हैं. The beyond and above the material manifestation of Prakriti. So by mistranslating, we have uprooted the Atman, and as a result, Christian से आप पूछिए, ये जो है इस्लामिक जो है थियोलॉजियन से आप पूछिए, वो आपको कन्वर्ट करेंगे. भाई हमारे यहाँ रूह है, तुम्हारे यहाँ आत्मा एक ही चीज है, तो क्या अंतर पड़ता है? आप इस्लाम को फॉलो करें या अपने को फॉलो करें, एक चीज नहीं है, क्योंकि आपको वो फूल कर रहे हैं. They want to fool you, make foolish of non-Christian or non-Islamic people. This is intellectual imperialism, Christianity, Islam religion, promoting conversion. Similarly, spirituality all over the place. Look at the entire, websites created by so-called Hindu swamis and Hindu saints and Hindu thinkers. Majority of them will find out spirituality. I don't know what you're talking about, spirituality. I am at loss because I may be stupid, but I am educated stupid. I do not know what you're talking about. I'm going to give in this series also the compare and contrasting the spirituality and spiritualism with Adhyatma and Sattvic Jnana Yoga. Nowadays, the new fashion, because Christianity is now in the decay and demise. I am religious. I am not religious, but spiritual. I don't know what you're talking about. Pillars of Islam. There are 5 pillars of Islam. It's a canopy, 4 pillars at the corner, center pillar. Center pillar is, I testify there's no God but God. And Muhammad is the only messenger of God. Remaining 4 pillars are prayers called Salat, Zakat, Psalm, Hajj. Fasting, prayer 5 times a day, giving alms to the poor. Which poor? Those who belong to Islam. Those who are out of Islam, the gifts and alms cannot be given to them. Allah does not allow you to do that unless they get converted. Fasting, obtain food, drink. Ramadan is the 9th month in Muslim calendar. Ramadan means to be hot, summer season. Hajj means pilgrim to Mecca at least once in lifetime. And look at the prayer. That's wonderful, beautiful. Look at the prayer, my dear friends. I am going to do this prayer with you, the Islamic prayer, which is done 5 times a day. God is great, God. Exactly the same words in English by authentic translator. I read the Bible, I read the Quran, and the Quran, I read the interpretation and Quran English translation of the meanings. It is by the Majid Fakhri, and this is approved by the most authentic institution in the Islamic world called Al-Azhar University in Egypt. This is not second hand. This is the first hand I read through, and I make quotations and other quotations from very authentic theological documents by the Islamic people and also non-Islamic people. So this is the prayer you can recite to every day if you want to. God is great, God is great, God is great, God is great, 4 times. I bear witness that there is no God but God. I bear witness there is no God but God. I bear witness that Muhammad is the messenger of God. I bear the witness that Muhammad is the messenger of God. Make haste toward prayer. Make haste toward prayer. Make haste toward prayer. God is great. God is great. There is no God but God. Please carefully note the words and language of prayer. और हम क्या language गाते हैं? हम गाते हैं ओम जय जगदीश हरे, तुझको तेरा अर्पण क्या लागे मेरा. Look at our prayers and look at this prayer. You see the difference. I don't have to explain to you. You are so wonderful, so beautiful audience. Look at the first verse, Surah 1. The very examine the beginning of the Quran. In the name of Allah, compassionate, the merciful. These words are repeated almost in every verse in the Quran. Praise to the Allah and Lord of the worlds, the compassionate, the merciful. Again, master of the day of judgment. Remember here, there will be day of judgment when he will come on this earth, or the Allah will send his messenger here and dig up all the graves, and the rotten conchals will be wrapped up by new flesh, and they will be then judged to be sent to heaven or hell, and be all non-Christians and non-Muslims will always be going to hell. That's why they have burial to take place, because these graves where you will not find anything else except the bones, bare bones, they will become a living being, and they will be sent either hell to heaven. If you subscribe to that idea, then I think the better for all of us to convert to Islam. Look at the first beginning of our tradition. Rigved 1:1:1. Agnimile purohitam yagnasya devaristvajam hotaram ratna dhatumam. I sing lauds to Agni, the Purohit, the Devata, the Hotra, the Ritvij performer who brings all the wealth and blessing. Please ponder upon, I do not have a time today to discuss this particular verse or any such verses from the Rig Veda. It takes, probably several hours, several days to even decode the proper understanding of these verses. Ponder on Agni as Devata, Purohit, Hotra, and Ritvij together, all in one. It's a yogic personality. Chandas, Gayatri Chand, 24 mantra, which is a measure of Ganeshsat, Chandasat, Alankar-sat. Time, continuous, containing peaks and valleys. Sangeet, music and sound vibration. Vak, the language structure. And Ratna means all kinds of wealth, including Vidya. My dear friend, compare this first verse with the previous verse and you will see the difference. Big difference. Sharia literally means right path. Another term comes out, the Sharia. Sharia, Islamic law, dominant emphasis on the law over theology, like Judaism. Extend all aspects of life, family, society, economics, politics, based on Quran and Hadith. Shia and Sunnis have their own Hadith collection, 18th, 19th century, 8th, 9th century. Shia and Sunni differ and contradict significantly each other, and they quarrel and disagreement. And Shias and Sunnis have been since the inception, since after the death of Muhammad, who will be the controller, who will be the king. This fight went on, killing went on, and it still goes on and on and on. Contains even mundane matters, the cut of Muhammad beard, and foods he like, honey and mutton, dislike garlic or melon. Fatwa is a legal opinion. Sharia is the body, these are my comment, body of laws, rules, regulation, fixed forever. No change or modification can be accepted. Sharia does not allow to accept any constitution of any country unless the constitution is based on Sharia. It does not allow loyalty to any nation state because it does not recognize national boundaries. The whole world has to be governed by the Sharia under the umbrella of Islam. That is the final goal. Christianity and Islam have final goals. Convert everyone to their religions. Otherwise, they are not fulfilling their mission ordained by Jesus and Allah. Some representative of Surah from Quran are disbeliever. Punishment for disbelievers. I'm quoting some of those representatives. When your Lord revealed to angels, I am with you, support those who believe. I will cast terror into the hearts of those who disbelieve. So strike upon the necks and strike every fingertips of theirs. This is the source of killing, striking, torturing, conquering non-Muslims. When you meet the unbelievers, strike their necks till you have bloodied them, then fasten the shackles. He who does not believe in Allah and the Messenger, we have indeed prepared unbelievers a blazing fire. Prophet is equally emphatic. Whoever changes his Islamic religion, he says, kill him. Nowadays, my dear friend, lots of people in big numbers are leaving Islam. So if you want to know more about the inner working of the Islam in social domain, personal domain, talk to the ex-Muslims, those who have left Islam. Jihad. Look at from Muhammad Allah to Hinduism, they study of political Islam. The killing of non-believers is a joyful sacred act. Jihad uses torture of non-Muslims for the benefit of Islam. Allah will help the jihadists to kill and destroy the non-Muslims and take their wealth by force. Killing and brutal torture of prisoners of war is acceptable. Jihad is superior to any ordinary Muslim. Jihadists, those who perform and actively involved in jihad, are superior than ordinary Muslims. Jihad will continue until all non-Muslims submit to Islam. Jihadists behead the unbeliever. Islam never offers peace while it is strong. Those who speak against Allah or Muhammad may be assassinated along with their families. So do not speak anything against Allah or Muhammad, otherwise fatwa will be proclaimed for your assassination. Those who resist Islam are satanic. Rape is a part of jihad. A dhimmi is a second-class citizen and serves Islam. Non-Muslim can be taxed at a higher rate than Muslims. The laws of non-Muslim must be replaced with Islamic law. Islam must dominate all public space. Non-Muslims may buy the protection of Islam called jizya tax. Prophet Muhammad, in my ummah, he is the best who has the largest number of wives. That's the Prophet Muhammad said for polygamy. On why? To increase the Muslim population, eventually establishing Arab Islamic political theocratic empire encompassing the whole world, as Allah has demanded. That's why they had to have more wives, more children, so that they can outnumber anybody else who is non-Muslim. Example. Clear declaration of war on God, his message, and Muslim, and called the killing of Americans, their allies, an individual duty for every Muslim. This is the origin in Quranic recitation. Slay the pagans wherever you find them, and no theologian or mullah or imam from the Islamic world could challenge him. Osama bin Laden could not challenge him. They accepted that verdict. So Sunni and Shia, there were roughly about 85% of world Muslims are Sunnis, and Shia roughly 15%. And after Muhammad's death, question of authority came. Majority backed Muhammad's father. There is a Sunni from Sunnah, which means tradition, and minority backed Muhammad's son-in-law. They became Shia, and Shia and Sunnis are fighting since then. Sunni authority is a Khalifa or Caliph, and Shia authority is called the Imam. I will not go to any of those details, but let me give you another term, Islamism. It is an ideology applied to political ends. The goal to purify Islam from pollution of modernity, to create Islamic states. It tactics to achieve these goals include forced conversion, coercion, deception, violence, and acts of terror such as suicide bombing. This is their fundamental goal and ideology of Islamism. It was founding intellectual Egyptian theologian 1906-66 to fight holy war against secularism, democracy, West, and infidels and idolaters. There's another term, what we call Salafism. These are also of the similar ideology. And then Baha'ism. Saudi Arabia has been the source. This opposed all innovations, no celebration of Muhammad's birthday, strict legal code, and opposed Sufism. Do I have few minutes? Can I take four more minutes? Few more minutes?
Yes, that's fine.
Okay, I'm going to talk about a little bit about Sufi. The term Sufi comes from Saf, which means wool, or they are wool wearer, have adopted simple life of contemplation, pious poverty. It emerged in the 8th century. It's a strategy, experiential dimension of religion. These were wandering Sufis, major role to convert to Islam in Africa, India, and Southeast Asia. Those who are talking about Sufis, they do not know the real behind or reality and their motives behind their Sufi guards. They are also responsible for conversion. and they call the pantheism. They follow the pantheism. Some follow the everything is one. They have not seen the God. No, these tradition, Islamic or Christian or Jewish tradition, they do not see the God. They have not seen the God. They simply hear the voice to one prophet, one messenger, and one representative. That's it. They never see. That's why images are prohibited, except now the images of their own liking. और फॉर एग्जाम्पल पत्थर पूछते हैं कि नहीं पूछते हैं काबा में जाके पत्थर है दैट वाज ओनली पत्थर ओनली सेव्ड द काबा में उनका जो है कहना चाहिए black stone. Why they do the puja there, they do their offering there, they go circumambulation. तो हम अपनी मूर्ति पूजा क्यों नहीं कर सकते? No, because we are the idolaters, we worship false god. Muslim Jewish theologian in a stark contradiction with the Sufis, Persian Sufi Hallaj in Baghdad 922, I am the truth. When he said, I am the truth, he was murdered by theologians, by Islamic theologians, my dear friends. Sufism in India, Indian Sufis are anti-Hindu polemics began with Muhyiddin Chishti. Early Sufis in Punjab and early Chishtis devoted themselves to task of conversion on a large scale. Let me give you the 1564, 1624, Ahmad Sirhindi, foaming at the mouth against Akbar policy of peace with Hindus, writer of several books and letters to powerful courtiers in the reign of Akbar and Jahangir. Slogan he had raised for his contemporaries, Ariyat can be fostered through sword. He said, yes, cow sacrifice in India is noblest of Islamic practices. These are the tradition of the Sufism in India. After Guru Arjan Dev's torture and death by Jahangir, he wrote the execution of accused kafir Govindwala is an important achievement, the cause of great defeat of Hindus. And these references you can find from Rijvi, a Muslim revivalist movement in northern India in 16th, 17th century. You can read through this book. Concluding observation, classifying humanity in two groups, believers and infidels. Classifying history in two periods, age of ignorance, age of enlightenment. Age of enlightenment began after the rise of Islam, after the Muhammad. Age of ignorance, before Muhammad, the whole world was under ignorance, must go to hell or must be converted. Classifying two regions, Darussalam and Darul Harb, land of believers and land of infidels. The India is a land of Darul Harb. It has to be converted to Darul Islam today, tomorrow, or 100 or 1,000 years from now. Wake up. Wake up call. It's going to happen. Islamic theologians, I'm not going to talk and the formula was convert Hindu by force, kill all the Hindus who refuse to recite Kalima, slaughter the Brahmins and eat the cows, burn Hindu scripture, demolish Hindu temples, monasteries, and desecrate places of Hindu pilgrimage in order to humiliate the Hindus, impose draconian discriminatory taxes on Hindus. This is the Sitaram Goel Muslim separatism, cause and consequences. 1400 years of jihad against India. Look at the Robert Spencer, Sherman Oaks, California, published. He has published in detail starting from 711. I'm not going to go on all Muhammad Ghazni, Muhammad Ghori, Khilji, Tughlaq, Firoz Shah Tughlaq. List is long till the British captured Delhi, put an end to the Mughal Empire. Estimate of 80 million Hindus killed in the total jihad against India. 80 million Hindus. Anything like this never happened in the known history of the world. The Holocaust in the Western world in 1939 to 45 was about 6 to 8 millions. This is 80 millions. And country of India too is half the size of ancient India due to jihad. Mountains near India are called Hindu Kush. And we get very happy. Oh, there is a Hindu Kush there. People of ignorance say that, but it means funeral pyre of Hindus. That's what the meaning of Hindu Kush is. Please note, most horrific and unparalleled Holocaust. And look at who is the root cause of radical Islam are in fact embedded within the religion and are being taught by bulk of mainstream Islamic teacher. And who talks about this? Whose quotation is this? Dr. Tawfiq Hamid, an Egyptian native. He was a member of radical Islamic organization in Egypt. He got out of it and became vocal against the radical Islam and organization and their agenda. And he says the roots are within the Quran, within the Islamic religion, and within the Islamic teachers. There are 5 stages. Stage number 1, Islamic community is small, refrain from fighting, but silent jihad. This is Islam as a religion of peace. Second stage, after immigration to Medina, the territory under control is starting with self-defense, impression, Islam not aggressive. Then they will start provoking under self-defense. Third stage, fight those who believe not in Allah, not the last day of judgment, not hold that forbidden which has been forbidden by Allah as an apostle. With this willing permission, feel themselves subdued. That's the third stage. Fourth stage, founding of Orthodox Baha'ism. Slaughtered thousands of Sufis and Sunnis, polytheists, atheists, idolaters, and others. Stage 5, current worldwide terror and killing and upheavals. Also, love jihad, food jihad, spitting jihad, just to name a few. Every action of these Islamists must be converted to jihad, to subdue, to harass, to win over, to kill, to torture non-Muslims. There's a long, long list of such brutal, torturous, and heinous acts against non-believers, idolaters throughout the history of Islam since inception. Now you decide, is Islam is a religion of peace? Here is this. Mullah says, Allah has mandated the lands of infidels to his last prophet, who in turn has bequeathed them to the Ummah. India continues to be Darul Harb. It is our Allah ordained duty to convert into Darul Islam. Our scriptures prescribe a total description of kafir, infidelism, and shirk, idolatry. Allah is very jealous of his own position as the only worthy of worship. He cannot stand the sight of these Hindu idols imitating his majesty and trying to share his divinity. These idols have to be destroyed and trodden under the feet of moments in order to propitiate Allah. The temples which house these idols have to be demolished and converted into a place of worthy of our own way of worship. In defense of Hindu society, Voice of India publication by Sitaram Goel. This is the authentic statement by mullahs at the time, and it still continues throughout the world, my dear friend. I read a lot of translated version of these declaration by mullahs from the Middle Eastern countries. I am very much aware of it. So I think with this note, I have next continue with this. The next thing I will continue, some more on the damaging effect on Hindu civilization during the Islamic rule and after so-called independence. Who contributed? How it was contributed, how our own leaders were instrumental and helper to this state of affairs. Till next time, I will ask everyone to pray together. Yatra yogeshwara krishno, yatra partho dhanurdhara, tatra sivayo dhruva nitil matil mamay. Tatra sivayo bhutil dhruva nitil matil mamay. We have to stand up, rise up, get rid of mental slavery. Re-engage in Karma Yoga for re-establishing a new enlightening Yoga Dharma humanity. Bring a new foundation of education system, foundational principles of innovation with continuity. We have to rise up. We have to wake up. We have to work in action. Philosophy of Neo-Vedantism, sitting in drawing rooms and chairs and homes, it's not enough, not going to work. Rise up, educate people around you, your family and friends, everyone else. The sinister designs of the Christian and the Islamist. I request some dakshina from you. I want forgiveness from all. Please forgive me. Please give me your blessing. मैं एक बंजारा हूं, एक आवारा हूं, बस्ती बस्ती पर्वत पर्वत गाता जाए बंजारा. मैं वो गीत गा रहा हूं, उन्हीं गीतों को गा रहा हूं, नए स्वरूप में, नए आवरण में, नए पर्यावरण में, जो हमारे ऋषियों ने गाए और गाते रहे हैं और आज भी गा रहे हैं. सत्यमेव जयते, सत्यमेव जयते. Thanks to everyone. My pranam to him, humble pranam to everyone. Charanon mein naman to everyone. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Professor Shiv Chaturvedi ji, and very enlightening presentation and talk. I'm sure that everybody enjoyed it. At least I enjoyed it very thoroughly. I would request people to raise a hand if you have any questions. In the meantime, I will try to read a comment by Kamlesh Kapoor ji. She has asked me to do that, so I am going to do that. So she has said that Arabic word for the God is Rab or Ra'ab, and which became Ruba and Rab. Ra means sun and Ab means water. Rab then became all that is there from sorry, I'm sorry. So Allah is from.
If I could make a comment here, there are a lot of really good comments about the on the chat, and these comments are wonderful, beautiful. And I'm going to actually address some of these questions in the next talk, that how we ourselves contributed this state of affairs of decay in Vedic Hindu tradition. We will continue in the next talk and respond to all those wonderful, beautiful questions from the audience. And that's actually, I already have the slides, but too many. So समय की मर्यादा रखते हुए I could not continue, but I will do that in the next talk.
Yeah, we will do that. So we have some questions. There was a question by Mishra ji. Mahendra Mishra ji. So but before I request him to please communicate. There are comments by people about who are asking to be unmuted. I would suggest that they can unmute it themselves. I don't think I have the control for unmuting them, and so I think they can unmute it themselves. Thank you. So Mishra ji, please go ahead.
Dr. Chaturvedi, Ji, what we heard and what we learned of today, how can we coexist in India?
You can't.
It looks like a very difficult position to coexist because Hindu religion and so diagrammatically opposite. Any thoughts?
Mr. Ji, बहुत अच्छा question. It's a great question you asked me, and I do not have a quick fix answer, but I will give you some thoughts. First of all, the very motivation and drive and the hidden intentions of many Hindu leaders and some of the thoughtful Islamic people for several hundreds of years have been trying to do that. And it did not succeed. It will never succeed if you continue following the corrupted version of the Hindu narratives and classification. Hindu narratives and Hindu worldview does encompass the entire humanity. So we do not have to corrupt and tailor-made our tradition to suit their demand. And their demand is based on what I call the dark ignorance. Their ideology, their worldview is under dark ignorance. It does not accept few ideas about human relations, some good ideas about ethics and morals. But we have much, much more in every sphere of humanity that we can say, yes, why we have to do that, but they cannot be. You look at as long as only two things can be done. You know what he did, the Basim Raja, his name is Basim Raja, is that correct?
Yes. Shia
thinker, what he did, he tried very hard to pursue and persuade the Islamic people that I think you have to ignore and purge out some of the verses, some of the ayats from Quran and the Islamic tradition in order to start an honest living together paradigm. He failed. He could not persuade anyone coming out and say. Second, so there is a second thing today. Even if you go to the majority of the mullahs and imams and their religious leaders, they will again talk about, bring back that Allah, that Quran is the only true tradition. Rest of the traditions are not true. They are untrue. They are fake. Their God says their ideas of living are fake. Their worldviews are fake, because you have to believe only this universe is only 10,000 years old. Okay, and we say, oh, it's millions and billions of years old, but that's what the contemporary cosmology is talking about. No, you don't have to believe any of those. You have to believe only what the Quran says. As long as this is there, as long as these two things are there, I don't think we can live in harmony, in real understanding, under the jihadist mentality. These stages I told you about, right. These are the stages. And you go back and look at the history of the world, whether you're talking about look at the Persian world. I have contact and I read pre-Islamic world of the Persia. Okay, and I don't know how many of you know the Iran, where the Iran name come from. Iran is a Persian name of Aryans. Okay, do you see that? So the pre-Islamic world, if you look at those words, still they are some in rudimentary form in living. It's still in Iran, Iraq, and all other places in pockets. You talk to them, and you will see. Oh, they will embrace you. They say, "Oh no, we are the same. We are on the same family." As soon as you step out from there, no. So, my dear Mr. Ji, respected Mr. Ji, I do not have quick fix answer. If these two conditions are met from the other side, अल्लाह ईश्वर अल्लाह एक तेरो नाम, हम तो बहुत गाते हैं, गाते रहेंगे, रोज हम गाते हैं ईश्वर अल्लाह ये तेरो नाम, ओके। लेकिन अल्लाह को जानने वाले, अल्लाह को मानने वाले अगर ईश्वर को शत्रु समझते हैं, फेक गॉड समझते हैं, फेक नेम समझते हैं, और जो है स्टूपिड समझते हैं, और दे हैव टू बी कन्वर्टेड, अदरवाइज दे हैव टू बी किल्ड, दे हैव टू बी मेम्ड, तब फिर हाउ कैन बी देव वृत्ति और दानव वृत्ति साथ साथ कैसे रह सकती है एक साथ? दानव वृत्तियों के लिए अलग स्थान है, देव वृत्तियों के लिए अलग स्थान है। हाँ, देव वृत्तियां दानव को कह देती, डू वट एवर यू वॉन्ट टू डू, बट रिमेन इन योर स्फीयर, इन योर वर्ल्ड, डू नॉट डिस्टर्ब अस, do not make us to believe what you want to believe. अपना करो जो आपको करना है। आप मूर्ति पूजा नहीं करते, आप ये नहीं करते, करिए, आप जो करना हो करिए, लेकिन मैं जो करता हूं उस पर, उसको आप नहीं बदल सकते, उस पर आप दबाव डाल के मुझसे नहीं छीन सकते। जब ये समझ उनके अंदर आ जाएगी तब हम जो है को एग्जिस्ट करेंगे। और ये आ रही है, मैं आपको, लॉट्स ऑफ एक्स मुस्लिम्स आर विलिंग टू एक्सेप्ट अस एज द real brothers and sisters, but we are the ones who do not tell them who really we are and who really they are. भारत में आप देखिए, I will claim that more than 90% people, their ancestors were Hindus. Remind them, talk to them, work with them, bring them to their own revered tradition. That's the only. If we are not willing to do that, then again it will not work. So there are really very serious issues. We need, more authentic, dialogues, from both the sides. Sit together, talk together, and they must be authentic. If only Racine, only one or two theologians, if they say, no, we have to leave out these ideas from Islam, others have to come up and say, yes, we must do that. जितने भी वहां पर जो है मदरसा हैं, मदरसाओं में ये पढ़ाया जाना चाहिए कि नहीं, we are following this, fine, that's fine, you follow, लेकिन we are originally from Hindu wisdom tradition, and they are our real forefathers. There are really, we belong to them. So we have to live together. This realization has to come from within the Islamic and Christian tradition. Otherwise, my dear Mishra ji, I am afraid I cannot forecast. But I am very positive. I am very positive that yes, if we become authentic, if we do our own efforts rather than, wishy-washy, artificial, जो है वो जो है करके चोंगा पहन लिया और हम ये बन गए, हम वो बन गए, और सब जो है हिंदू मुस्लिम भाई भाई, हिंदू मुस्लिम भाई भाई। अरे भाई, ये these empty slogans, सर्व धर्म संभाव, empty slogans are not going to work. I'm sorry I took a lot of time to give you some thoughts. So I don't have a quick fix answer to that, but I have given you some idea that might help all of us to come together and to understand more and more and better how to figure this out.
Thank you, Chaturvedi.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Chaturvedi ji. We have one more hand up who is going to ask the question. But I would just like to add one thing. Hindus need to leave this issue of the how we will live together. That is not possible, as Professor Chaturvedi ji said. They are fighting a continuous war. It has no interruptions in it. And Hindus have a finite goal of, okay, we will ये झगड़ा खत्म करवा देते हैं, वो झगड़ा खत्म करवा देते हैं, उससे कुछ फर्क नहीं पड़ेगा. Unless we change to an infinite war strategy, we will be destroyed. Period. This is a game theory of two people, and two people by infinite game वाला हमेशा जीत जाता है. Anyway, that aside part, I have now Rishani ji wants to ask question. Please, Rishani ji, go ahead.
Namaskar. It was nice listening all about what Islam is. A lot of people know what Islam is. We know we are facing big problem all over the world. But I see the problem lies with Hindus that we don't have a nation yet. If we don't have a nation, there is no chance at all to propagate Hinduism. And I think this mistake took place in 1947 when Congress, which was not a party of Hindu but a party of Muslim, and till today, our Hindus have not waken up, and no leader, no person, no religious leader even talks about Hindu need a Hindu nation. How you can teach people who are converted from Hinduism to Christianity and Islam the principle of karma and reincarnation? And principle of reincarnation and karma is the only way the human should follow. Because after all, we are human beings. If a human being doesn't understand how the human life works, then there is no chance that Islam will be changed. Because Islamic people believe that there will be somebody God will come and liberate them. There's no liberation. Liberation comes from karmas. So question is the philosophy of karma and reincarnation is not propagated by Hindus. People with money and resources are just accumulating money, but they don't promote the knowledge which of karma and reincarnation. So question is, when Hindu has no nation, when the government has no reason to reconvert people, how the nation will survive? I consider the nation will survive only when the nation has its own roots and they want to make sure the roots are intact and people living in that nation should follow the roots. So I feel there is a big problem with us and our nation, and Hindu being not having a nation is a problem.
With due respect, I fully agree with your statements. I fully agree. And this is one of the regions that I have been feeling and thinking about for the last 40 years after I came to USA. Okay.
Yeah, I live in USA too.
Pardon?
Don't you think that we should start a movement? I also live in USA. Don't you think we should start a movement that Hindu need a Hindu nation, and we should take this issue to United Nations, and we should at least propagate about this idea at least?
I am part of that big game. I am that part of the big movement. And there are several. Rajiv Verma ji, I am with Rajiv Verma ji because Rajiv Verma is the most authentic, individual, providing so many platforms to make all of us aware of the hidden aspect of our own Hindu wisdom tradition and aspect of the other traditions which we were not familiar with.
The problem is we are not vocal about it.
Yes.
Nobody talks about Hindu needs a Hindu nation.
That is correct. We have to be more vocal. And I think fully agree with you. And we have to be more vocal. We have to be more authentic. We will have more respectful. And we are talking about, that's why I bow down to the Devvriti as Devata as well as Dana. We have to be respectful, but then provide the authentic understanding of Hindu wisdom tradition in totality, and then say, okay, let's compare and contrast, and let's see how the modern world wisdom is talking about and what is there, how it is there. And I will give you one example. I may be too harsh to make such a statement, but I beg your pardon. For last and there are comments also here. I agree with those comments and the people, those who have made these comments. For last, after Bhakti Kal, after 16th or 17th century, after 11th, 12th century, we have been sleeping. We have not contributed anything original in terms of the growing new world. Original in things of these. Kuch logon ne, some people have left out the Vedas. Some saints, some leaders have left out the Purana. Some left out the Smriti. They were only partial, little bit here and this was the patchwork was done. No new innovation came out to be. I'm telling you, no new innovation came out to be. We have had all the basic ideas. Let's give an example. Vidyut. One of the forces that made us slave politically, intellectually, theoretically, in practice, every way of the West, because of the Industrial Revolution started with the advent of machine, basically the steam engine in England. Okay, most of the electricity, for example, these ideas about these things were already existing in our, I have given a talk on the Agnidev, various manifestations of Agnidev. Why we could not produce the electricity? Because they were sleeping. We were in slumber. And Jagat is mithya. We do not have to worry about the Jagat. This was the impression given to us in popular imagination, intellectual imagination. We do not have to do anything. So we became, we developed inferiority complex. Second thing, that's the first thing, we did not innovate further in the practical side of the living. Second thing, we could not put a new unity from Vedas to Smritis to the modern world, new unified frameworks. We could not provide them.
But don't you think it needs a nation?
Pardon? Then came the nation. The nation identity comes from Bharatvarsh.
It was not there for so many years, and also 1947.
That is correct. It was not there for so many years. Do you know why it was not there? I will tell you my impression. You may have your own impression. Audience may have their own understanding. I will tell you why it was not given.
It was democracy which we have adopted.
No, democracy came later on. The Bharat वर्ष हमारा एक राष्ट्रीय जो चेतना है वो कब से मिसिंग है? वो 8th century से मिसिंग है. आप देख लिए किसी परंपरा में, देख लीजिए आप, जो हमारी आचार्यों की बहुत अद्भुत परंपरा जिन्होंने जीवित रखा हमारे ट्रेडिशन को, उस परंपरा में देख लीजिए कहीं गान गाया जाता है, धन्यास्तु में भारत भूमि भागे, वर्गा पवर्गास्पत हेतु भूते धन्यास्तु में भारत भूमि भागे. जिस भारत राष्ट्र की कल्पना वेदों में की गई, उस भारत राष्ट्र की चेतना हमने अपने संप्रदायों के द्वारा, अपने स्कूलों के द्वारा, even before the advent of before coming in of the British, did we ever recite those poems? Did we ever? तो हमारी ये जो हमारी भारतवर्ष से चेतना, जो भारतीय चेतना है, जो हिंदू राष्ट्र की चेतना है, हम उससे दूर होते गए. और 47 के बाद I call you, हम next में हम डिस्कस करेंगे ये बात. Next 47 के बाद I call a transfer of political power from White Sahab to Brown Sahab.
Okay, we were not there in 1947, but now we are living in the present world.
That's right.
Why this thought?
Saniji, we have other people who are in the row.
We will talk about more about this. We have to do.
Okay. So with that, I would request Indrani Ramprasad ji, please ask your question. You have to unmute yourself, Indrani ji. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. I'm unmuted now.
Yes,
Rama,
yes.
Sitaram, what a brilliant, brilliant presentation. You know, I've been looking for this for years, years. I mean, I'm out in the Kamlesh Kapurji, namaste, namaste. I'm out in the Caribbean, and we have been, you know, with these questions for so long. My feeling, my analysis is, you know, what our scriptures say, what the great ones do, that's what others follow. So Gandhiji would say this, the others, all the socialists who were there in power at the dawn of independence would make pronouncements on what is and what is not Hinduism, and then we followed. So that is one big error we need to counteract what we think is these great voices that cannot be challenged. I find we Hindus too readily accept people in power, and we don't challenge them. Number one, and number two, very quickly, we need to use the legal avenues much more to challenge.
Indrani ji, if you can please ask the question.
Do you think that the challenge that we are you know, using the legal challenges sufficiently, and would it make a difference? Thank you, Ji.
No, Namaskar. So kind of you. I bow down to you. So kind of you. And you have very well said. You have said it very well. I 100% agree with you. We had to use multi-dimensional approach, including the legal one, political one, intellectual one, theoretical one. All kinds of approaches have to come together in a yogic fashion, yogic integration fashion, so that make that happen. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Professor Shiv Chaturvedi ji. Great.
We forgot one thing, Mona. This is a new key set, no?
Yeah.
Then we should have got a duplicate.
Please mute yourself, whosoever is talking. Anyway, so thank you very much for the lecture. Thank you, the audience, for spending about 1.5 hours listening to the whole thing patiently. Since there are no more questions, I would.
There are questions.
Oh, okay, please go ahead.
Actually, I've been raising hand forever. My question is.
You are not right. That has to be raised in the application there. I couldn't see that.
Now there is a hand. Right.
Yes. Okay, please go ahead.
My question is that all these various problems we are talking about, and we are not even a community, let alone a nation. We cannot be around a temple, all of us together, or around a thinking point. But that is not the question. That is a just comment. The question is, how do you think we are going to link the generations to this entire thought? Where do you start in a scientific way, and when do you start? I am in this country for almost 50 years, and I'm teaching Hindu Dharma, never use the word religion. And I feel that it should be started at the age of 4. Once you are exposed to the television and mopeds and this and that, and secularism kind of nonsense, then it is too late, game over. At the age of 11, you tell a child, you're not going to prom, you're not going to date. They say, in which world are you living? So my whole thing is that we start from a child and explain to him in a very non-challenging, किसी को challenge नहीं करना. We are just trying to develop approaches. How to approach the young mind, being a mother myself, so that it has a lasting impression. a scientific kind of impression. Hindu Dharma is a science. It is physics, it is psychology, it is philosophy, and merely saying intellectualism is not. So if as a group we can come up with a strategy that this is how we are teaching, this is what we are teaching, at what age we are teaching, and we are teaching to our children. Instead of saying Ratofai Hanuman Chalisa without knowing who Hanuman in the Devata was. That is my request to the entire group and a challenge. I'm 83 years old, I won't be there forever, but I do want that the next generations who are 25 years younger, they should take up this. Teach your own children, grandchildren, everybody has now grandchildren. If you are not able to catch them, then let's not talk about reaching across to anybody. Not when they are old, not when they're older, not at people like you and me. We don't need a lecture. We read it. We are familiar with Vedic mantras and Vedas themselves. But the point is, then generations we have lost, both in India and here also. Who is responsible? And when we will shoulder the responsibility? That is the task ahead. It is for the speaker as well as the audience and all those diverse groups who are working for it, that they should come out with a practical solution now. Not simply comments that you are right and I am wrong. Nobody is here right and wrong. You are more informed, I am less informed. We can say that. But otherwise, the point is, where are you going to zero in? And let's do that. Thank you very much.
Can I make a quick comment?
Please go ahead.
Thank you so much. I bow down to you. You have raised it very, very clearly and very authentically. Great questions and great understanding about if we cannot transfer and we cannot transfer this wisdom to our younger generation, it will be lost for the future generations.
Exactly.
And so this is the, so actually if I go to the doctor, doctor look at my symptoms and do diagnosis. The first thing, we have to diagnose it. Where are the real problems are? What are the real ailments are? Okay, what the maladies are, and then I say, okay, now what kind of cure or set of cures we must apply. This is how I deal with, and I would like everyone to think through that. We have disease, we have ignorance, how to bring it out, how to cure of this ignorance and bring the knowledge in it. And most of the, just like you said, I was totally blind and zero. I had zero understanding about my own tradition, all the way from grade 1st to PhD. I started learning about myself, my tradition. It started here 41 years ago in America. I dedicated myself. I'm giving you my own personal understanding. And I started the Greek tradition and went backward all the way to Vedas. You see, one of the difficulties, one stress point, next lectures I will stress more on these points, that if I have a child, for example, born tomorrow, will be born tomorrow, and child is going to grow and I am there. First grade, second grade, third grade, fourth grade, fifth grade, America or India, they are exposed to the educational system. How we can connect to his or her experiences in education at that level through our wisdom. If we start the Brahm hi sab kuch hai, no, it does not make any sense to whatsoever you are talking about. It will not be able to communicate to them. We start with the basic language. What's the meaning of the language for us when you start speaking? How do you act according to, how do you speak, how to sit down, and how to act from very beginning in a Hindu way, in a way of wisdom. So the very first time you have to tailor-made the educational system, theory and practice, such a way that it can correlate with the kids' experiences, kids' learning process. If you start at mandir mein, you go to temple, मंदिर में बता दिया, उन्होंने कहा ठीक है आपने पूजा कर लिया, मंदिर में I have been fighting this way to Hindu executive conferences. I said mandirs are not doing all that they are supposed to be doing. There's something which lacking very much in it. They are doing a lot of good things. They must do, mandir has to be there, they must be them. Lekin they are not doing something to how they can integrate the coming generation to the Vedic worldview. So these are the questions we can really continue talking about it. Today we do not have much time, but let us continue talking about this, and we have to come out some kind of a tentative understanding about how to approach those.
I have already approached. I created a book which is called Hindu Dharma Teaching Guide.
Oh,
I started with the lessons for 4 years old to 8 years old.
Oh, perfect.
And I taught them.
Perfect.
In a very scientific way.
Perfect.
Till this day they remember.
Perfect.
And then from 8 to 12, 12 to 16, and 16 to college level, where you have a knowledge of physics, philosophy, and psychology.
Great.
Okay. And I gave the presentation to Balkendras and
yeah.
However, the broad community, our own community, is not propagating what is already created.
Yeah.
You see, half of the people, with due respect to all the audience.
Yes.
And sometimes I'm very abrasive, and they know me that. An abrasive person, because I'm telling the truth that we are wasting time every day, every minute. And if you have not heard about this book or your work or my work, then that means we are only talking about my work. You are talking about your work without interacting.
I agree with you.
I suggest,
give me the reference of your book and I will get that for me.
Hindu Dharma Teaching Guide.
Yeah.
And my name is Kamlesh Kapoor.
Okay.
I have also written History of Ancient India, taking it back to 15,000 years BC. But then nobody is propagating.
Yeah.
Everybody is clamoring that we should write our own history. Baba, jo likh diya hai, usko to padho.
Aapki baat bilkul.
Make a summary of it and read.
Yeah.
And teach your own children.
Yeah.
So it's a voice in the wilderness.
Yeah.
I'm moving on to other things, and my time is limited on earth. But the point is that somebody has to really get a grip.
Yeah.
And this body is more important, that body. No, we are all important in the same struggle, in the same quest.
Yes, that is correct. That is correct.
एक दूसरे की किताब पढ़ने की कोशिश की जाए, and you give me suggestions to improve it.
Yes.
I give you the impression, suggestions that from here we go. How to go.
How to go, yes.
I think we have one more hand which has been raised. One little input I would like to give at this point is that please keep your answers short and your questions short, because we have been running quite a bit of our time. So the last question last question was from, I think the person has taken down his hand. I forget who. PSG. I don't know what the full form is of PSG. PSG, please ask your questions. Please unmute yourself and ask the question.
Yeah, Namaste ji. I was trying to unmute myself, but somehow I think it is moderated.
No, it's not moderated. It has been kept.
Okay, sure. No, thank you. Namaste ji. Thank you, Kamlesh ji. And my name is, by the way, Pratik. Sorry, I would change my settings in Zoom. Thank you so much, Dr. Chaturvedi and Kamlesh also. I think I've already found your book on the web.
Please go to the question, please.
No, my comment is only about. It's not a question, so I could probably stop there. But this is a very mind-boggling thing that Kamlesh ji has brought up for people who have 4 or 5-year-old kids here in the West. How to have the kids develop that kind of a mindset and have a connect, which is sustainable to today's world. Also, we cannot transport them to a life which does not have the social media interaction. But it's a very mind-boggling fact of us young parents who how to have the kids maintain that connect and not lose this connect with our dharma in translation. We can all be seekers, but until they have that realization, it might already be too late.
Professor Chaturvedi, do you want to respond to that?
You are very much right. These are the real questions, and I think we all have agreed upon that. These are the real questions, and how to do it, how to solve these problems. This is what we have to do, Manthan. This is what we have to do, Manthan, how to solve these problems. And I have really talked about several ideas in the past lectures. So many, for a couple of years, I've been giving all kinds of lectures. But I think we have to understand one thing. When the outer world, it means the outer world, as you step out, the kids step out of the home, they're exposed to a different kind of environment, different kind of language, different kind of dictions, different kind of lifestyle. And then they come home, and if you teach them something different than what they already learned from the schools or from the community or the society, it is not easy to teach them something different. Okay, now, so what we have to have a strategy through which, if they think this is not different, this is meaningful, it makes sense to the other aspect, outer world, as it makes sense to the inner world. If that strategy we can follow, I think they will be more than happy. And I have actually, from teenagers' point of view, I have done, a couple of conferences in Ohio, Columbus, and the teenagers made the similar comment that they have a disconnectivity. They have a strong disconnectivity. So I think this connectivity, Benji also talked about, several of you also been talking about, how do you read this connectivity? How do you make this connectivity? And the contemporary experiences of the people versus traditional knowledge. And I claim myself, for myself, that traditional knowledge base has to be reworked out, re-articulated, so that it can easily integrate with the modern useful ideas and lifestyle. Thank you.
Thank you. I would just like to add one thing, that if you see in the modern days, when a new team, like say new soccer team is being built up, how do they build it up? They don't give them lectures of the how to become a best player, etc. No, they do ho 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 ho, that kind of thing. Some ritual. They perform a ritual together, which joins them. Once that joins them, then you can give them the rest of the jnana and other higher level of information. But ritual is very important, and that should not be discarded. So with that, I will stop my rambling and thank Professor Chaturvedi ji for a brilliant talk, and also the lots of audience who did not ask the question but nevertheless stayed connected. because of their both the patience and their enthusiasm for the topic. So till next time, thank you, Professor Chaturvedi ji, and let's call it a day now. Thank you.